Okay, so getting back to the assignment, remember you're going to be doing a 2-layer CMYK mode Photoshop document, a .psd. There are only going to be 2 layers, but one of them is going to be a smart layer, so don't worry too much about that. The size will be 10 inches by 7.5. It will either be landscape or portrait, either way is fine, 300 pixels per inch. Now again, in this assignment, we will explore preparing an image for print using reduction techniques and halftone patterns. Because these techniques are generally used for screen printed t-shirts, you will create a strong graphic image in CMYK mode before applying color halftone process. And I just showed you why it needs to be in CMYK mode first. All right, let's check this out. Occasionally, printing will require your image to be reduced to a handful of colors, since each colored ink used in a print contributes to the overall cost of the printed piece. Some printers will require that you submit your work as solids and halftone patterns, since the printing process does not allow for gradients. You will most likely encounter these constraints in print-on-demand t-shirt companies. There are also poster companies and other screen printing processes that will deal with that. For this assignment, we will be working under an imaginary set of constraints that will simulate the printing process. Your imaginary printer is capable of printing with cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, and it can print on any color of cloth. So you get an extra color there. It can be white, green, yellow, blue, whatever you want. But that's the only place you get to use white. So if you feel you need white in your image, put it on a white background. So you're going to select copyright-free images or images that you own the copyrights to, and pull elements from them into a composition using all the collage techniques that have been demonstrated throughout earlier classes. Assemble a composition that's appealing to you. Alternatively, you can paint or draw an image, and if you've painted or drawn an image earlier in the semester or in another class and you like it and you think it would look good in reduced colors, then by all means feel free to use that. Either way, be sure to include at least 5 elements, and an element is a different object. So if I have a line of text, that line of text is an element. If I put a person, that person is an element. So essentially, that's it. This fish is an element. Just to give you an idea of elements. I call it elements because people can do these really crazy, amazing assemblies. There was one, I remember, it was like a car in front of a sunset with some palm trees and some text. 2 palm trees, the sunset, and the car. Those are 4 elements. They overlapped, but they were still obviously different elements. And then you had text, that was element number 5. So that met all the requirements on the 5 elements. Okay, so with your blending art assignment and your abstract filter art assignment, try to make sure your layout is structured, coherent, and reflects the time you put in it. So if you finish it up after like 8 hours and something went wrong and it looks terrible, take a break, try again, see how it looks the next time through. All right. Once your composition is completed, create a graphic style by reducing and this is what I mean by strong graphic style, reduce the number of colors used in the image. And there are a lot of ways to do this. We'll cover a few of them in a minute. You should be left with large swatches of color from a limited palette, like a painting, rather than an endless series of blended colors like from a photograph. When you are satisfied with your style, turn off your background layer and make sure that the top layer is either active or use the Control-Alt-Shift-E stamp visible. So this is skipping a little bit ahead. A lot of times students will just assemble everything in one layer, flatten it all out, and then move it over to the other document. That's fine too. I'm not going to police you on that. But this is if you assembled everything on the final product and you merged it all down to 2 layers. How are you going to do that? Well, I'd recommend stamp visible. To duplicate everything to 1 layer, or you can, use the save as. And then you copy that flattened layer, if you need to, onto a new document, which will be 10 inches by 7 inches and 300 pixels per inch. Now, it says on this, copy the flattened layer and make a new CMYK document and paste in the flattened work. You don't have to make it CMYK at first. You can make it RGB, paste it in, then use your convert profile, because as we covered, it's going to use the relative chromomatic structure intent to do this, which usually works fine, but you may want to use something else. And so, use your convert profile instead. All right, so this is important. Name the layer image and convert it to a smart object by clicking and choosing convert to smart object. You can fill the background with a solid color. White is fine, but the background layer is the only layer where you're going to be allowed to use white when everything's said and done. And make sure, again, important, to name your layer background. I'm checking that. So image and background. So once we've done all that, we're going to make sure we're in CMYK mode. And we're going to do the pixelate, and then we're going to remove the white, and I've got some helpful hints on ways of reducing it. So let's go ahead and actually follow along and make one of these. So I have an idea as to what I want. So I'm just going to actually start by making a new image, and I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to make this new image in RGB mode at first, and I'll convert it to CMYK when everything is said and done. I'm going to make it 7.5 wide and 10 tall, and that's in inches, at 300 pixels per inch. So I get this nice standard structure. Now, what I'm going to do is duplicate over some fish. So I'm going to duplicate this fish over there, and I'm just going to right click, can duplicate layer, and call it fish 1. And toss it onto this new document, this untitled document I created. So I've got fish 1 in my untitled document. My fish is huge, so it doesn't fit. It's fine. And I thought about the snail, but I'm going to do this instead. I'm going to go over to my fish 2, and I'm going to duplicate this also over to my untitled document. And I'm going to call this fish 2. So I've got these two fish. And what I'm going to do with these fish is this. I'm going to convert them to smart objects. And I'm going to shrink them down. And kind of place them around. Duplicate them. And I'm just control clicking in order to auto select. Notice when I have the move tool, the V key on the keyboard, and I hold down control, auto select will turn on and off when I hold down control and when I release control. So that's how I normally like to do things. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Going to flip this image, edit, transform, flip horizontally. And I think this fish will also be flipped horizontally. Edit, transform, flip horizontally. So I've got some fish. I got one fish and two fish, so I'm going to have a red fish and a blue fish. So let's make that happen. Oops, as I drop my assignment paper, I'm just going to go in and do a hue saturation. There we are. And I'm going to, oh, I'm on the wrong fish. Oh, that's fine. Have a red fish. And I want it on this fish. No, I want it on. I really need to label these better. Where is everyone? This will be my blue fish. This will be my two fish. This will be my red fish. And this will be my blue fish. So I think those of you who remember your Dr. Seuss, is this my blue fish? No, that's my one fish. Those of you who remember your Dr. Seuss will know where I'm going with this. So where is, it's one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish. And I'm going to use the clip to layer mask to Control that, and I'm going to call this my fish graphic. Just to start. All right, so I need a blue fish. Same process. Use saturation. This time I'm going to make a blue fish. And might as well clip it down. So I've got my one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish. Let's add some text to that. Control T to transform. This is the most boring possible type. Now, remember, thin lines don't reproduce well in a halftone process because we're using the AM pattern here, the AM process. So I'm going to want a bolder font. Maybe one that's a little more fun would be nice. I, of course, can't see anything because I put it where I can't see it at all. All right. Let's see. That looks good. I kind of like that. And I'll have one fish. And let's mix this up. We'll have a two fish. And we'll have a red fish. And maybe with a little more transformation here. We, for example, have the fish transformation, but that might be a little bit of an overkill. I think maybe a backwards arch. Maybe a different font. No, I think I'll stick with the same font through all these. Red fish. And we'll do a blue fish. And this blue fish will be bent the other direction. Is it plus 19? I can't even seem to type 19. There we go. And I'm going to Control T, rotate my fish. So, you know what? These actually need to go the other way. So this one will be the negative 19. I keep hitting Control R. I need Control T so I can rotate this. I want it to kind of move back up in space. So we'll have this as blue fish. And for fun, get that going. Now I want to flip this. Oh, maybe not. Actually, I'll leave it curved that way, and I'll just bring it down like this. That leaves this fish here, this one fish. I don't like how it's all set in one boring pattern. That. And I want no vertical shift on that. So we've got one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish. But of course, if I have red, shouldn't that be, you know, maybe red? And if I have blue, maybe that should be blue. maybe a brighter blue. And if I have fish, let's make that color that's in here too. We'll pick an orange. Let's have some fun with this fish. Again, don't want any transformation in that direction. Okay. And just for consistency, you know what though? Actually, I prefer having the red and green match up. So let's do the complement, the red and green, the red and blue match the fish. Now the complement of orange would normally be a teal, but that would be a blue that we have. So maybe dark teal instead for the numbers, just to have some complement to it. And now maybe a bubble kind of background on this. So what would that look like? Well, I'd probably take a gradient and just do a color to transparent. Take a color, I say. Double click. Wow, really? Can behave like that? Fine. It's like it's stuck in grayscale mode. Hold on. Interesting. Here we go. Wow, it's really unhappy with me. Try that one more time. Guess we'll just do the old swatch method. Pop over to the swatches, grab the blue. Wow, it's like it's stuck in black and white. Am I on some weird black and white color? Brush. Okay, eyedropper. Blue. Weird. Okay, add in a new blue swatch. So we got a blue, whatever. Now we'll go ahead and grab that gradient. Now it's not having a problem. Let's just go and drag the swatch over to it, but now it's behaving exactly as I expected. Whatever. We'll just put that in. So keep in mind now the blue here is interfering with the blue fish, so you might want to do something about that. And in my case, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to go over to the blue fish, and I'm going to add a white outline by using a large white stroke on the outside. I kind of like that. I think I'll put that on all of them. Of course, we won't be able to see it on things like the 2 and the fish. I'm just, whoops, alt dragging to apply the same effect to the text. So I've got 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, blue fish. Now on this gradient though, I don't want it coming all the way over to the edge. I'm going to mask it. That looks better. And actually I would like it lighter than that. So I'm just going to drop the opacity. And then do this little trick. Actually, I'm not going to, yeah, I'm just going to drop the opacity. What I should really do is this. I'm going to add a new gradient, and I'm going to put that right in at a smaller scale. Except now I don't like that scale either. Oops. Wow. Keep missing. One more try. I know this video is kind of going on a little long, but we're almost there. Toss it in a smart object. Now, Control T. Yeah, there we go. All right. Okay, and there we have it. So now it's self-contained. Okay, and I can go in and change the lightness of this by going in here, popping over to the gradient, and changing the color to a lighter color. All right, now I'm kind of digging the stroke. I'm going to put that on my fish as well, so that it has a nice little cutout. I'm going to put that on my redfish, and also on my other fish, just in case I change things later. I don't want to be trapped having to go back. So, good time to save. I've got this little background. One other thing that might be nice is over here to add in some white circles. And I'm going to go ahead and do pixels, and I'm going to go normal. It's a little big. Oh, but the transformation is going to make that look terrible, isn't it? Because I forgot that I squashed it down, which means it's got all kinds of weirdness going on. So what we'll do is this instead. Pop back over and get rid of the bubbles, pop back over, and then we'll just put them on here as bubbles. And there we go. Now at this point, I'm going to want to apply that mask that I had earlier, because I want to crop down those bubbles as well. I want everything to kind of fit nicely together. So on this group, toss on a mask. There we go. And the bubbles will fit neatly inside the mask. If I want to add more, they will stay cropped. So I could, for example, add one in here and it will fit just fine. Okay, so I have the start of a graphic. Next up, I will show you some reduction processes. See you in the next video.